Welcome to Planted. My name is Ian, and in this video I'm going to show you how to pot up new tender seedlings. I had some pots that I had come through the winter, and in the pot of the plant that I wanted to keep I had seedlings of a plant called Nicotiana. It's a beautiful plant, very nice flowers. This is one called Langsdorffii, and I'm going to show you how to take care of them, how to repot them so that they will grow. You might think it's a lot of effort, but it is absolutely worth it. Now, I cannot stress this enough. Repotting seedlings is very easy, requires a little bit of practice, but it's something that everybody can do. If you've got yourself a little potting bench, that's great. Get yourself organized, get some growing medium, and this is the absolute trick that you must follow. If you get yourself a dish and add a pint of water to it. Now, the reason for that is simple. You need to have a little bit of water in your dish before you add liquid fertilizer. Now, there's lots of liquid fertilizers out there. You don't need much, and that means it starts to dilute and spread immediately. Add a bit more water, you'll end up with maybe 2 or 3 pints in this little trough. And this is where you're going to stand the plants once you've potted them on. You can also mix it up and put it into a sprayer. You'll see me use this in just a moment. These two little tricks are very, very valuable and will practically guarantee that your seedlings grow. It's that effective. I like to have a bench with a top tier and a low tier. You see I've got my sprayer, I've got my clippers and a range of pots. And here is the plant that I want to pot up. Now I'm pinching off some foliage, and the reason is that the plant has just gone through a very tough time. It's had its roots removed from a pot, and I don't want it to keep on transpiring at the rate it was doing. So by removing a few shoots and then spraying the base with my mixture of fertilizer, I'm letting that plant catch up, and then I stand it in my tray. Now you can see there that the plant is bobbing, it's floating. The potting medium is so dry that it's almost, it's called hydrophobic. It will not readily take on water. By putting it in this tray, you let the growing medium gradually absorb water, and it will move up through the depth of that little pot. It's very, very important that you do this, and it does work. The mixture in the bags is dry because it's lighter, it's compressed, and you can get more in a smaller area. Very expensive to take heavy loads of growing medium when they don't need to be full of water. So it's your job as the gardener to rehydrate that growing medium and rehydrate the little pot that you want your plant to grow in. So there we go. First phase of repotting seedlings. The nice thing about this system is that you can't overwater the plant. If you have a pot in 2 inches of water, it will absorb as much as it wants and it will stop. And then you can come along and remove them like this. So let them stand in there for about 20 minutes and they'll take up lots of water, and that will really help that plant get going. Now those were small plants in small pots. If you want to do a bigger plant, you might need to up the fertilizer. So this is slow release fertilizer. There's many brands out there. I add that to the dry mix and prepare this soil with added fertilizer. This is a plant called Aristolochia. It's got some weeds in there, and it's also got some more Nicotiana, which I want to save. This looks terrible, but it doesn't matter. All I wanted to do was have it come through the winter, which is exactly what it's done. And you'll see this later in the summer in full flower, and you'll understand the wonder and amazement that that plant can do what it's about to do. Now this is most likely Nicotiana sylvestris. It's a bit more vigorous than the Langsdorffii, in fact a lot more vigorous. And I just want 2 of them, which is what this pot's got in it. So it needs to be in a larger pot, and because it's a bigger plant, I'm going to tear off more leaves, and I'm also going to give it the slow release fertilizer rather than just the liquid feed. So bigger pot, stronger fertilizer. And we'll just add a little bit more of the slow release for good measure. It's important that you have a range of pot sizes so that you're not shoehorning a plant that's too big into a pot that's too small. It's nice if all the pots match, but it does not matter. So there's our first pot done. A little bit of spray at the base to make sure that those roots are a bit higher up, have got some hydration. And then we set it in our little tray. And we can keep on. So we've got one Nicotiana sylvestris. This is the second. And it's exactly the same. Nice sized pot. And I hope you notice that at no point am I overly compressing the potting medium. It falls out of my hand into the pot. And then just then there's a little bit of compression, not a lot. It's not really overly compacted, and it's important because the roots have to grow through this growing medium. Remove a few of the big fleshy leaves, add a bit of spray. That ensures that we've got mild fertilizer and water right where the plants are, where the roots are higher up in the pot. And that gets a chance to just sit in our little bucket of liquid feed. So this plant is special. Just look at this for a flower. This is Aristolochia gigantea. It's one of the top 3 plants in my garden that people come by and are just speechless with. So this effort of overwintering it and then repotting it and getting it to a place where you can plant it outside, to me, is absolutely worth it. Now, the same is true of this plant being a bigger pot. It needs more food. So we're putting in not just a little bit of slow-release fertilizer, but a bit more. This plant will grow rapidly for months, and it needs that food. Now, I've done this on purpose. Don't be tempted to push the plant down to make it fit. Deliberately filled it too full, take some growing medium out, and get that plant set at the right level. There we go. Now this plant will stay in here for the next 6 weeks, maybe 8 weeks, and we want to really get the fibrous roots going. So a mixture of water, slow release, liquid feed, and a steady temperature of 60 degrees is all that it needs. And it'll go crazy. It'll absolutely go crazy. I think there's a misconception that having a greenhouse means that it needs to be on full revs all winter long. A greenhouse is just a place to store plants so they don't die. They don't need to be fully growing and under ideal conditions. It's just a place where they are able to gradually come through the winter. Now, yet again, we put it back in that pot with the liquid feed and let it hydrate. Now, this plant would take a lot longer to take up moisture because the pot is much taller. Small plants, you can very easily cover it by 20 or 30%. This one's not even got 10%. And it's at this time, when it's on the potting bench, that the plant is right in front of my eyes, and I can really have a close look and go through and systematically prune out any dead or leaves or branches or anything that's cracked or broken. And it's nice that you can actually turn the plant in front of you, and you might turn it 2 or 3 times and you'll still miss something. This is early part of April, and we can see that there's new shoots on the plant. So the increased day length has prompted this plant to really get up and go. And that's exactly what should be happening. Any chance you can give your plants just a little bit more water when you pot them up, all it can do is help. You'll notice that I'm not flooding it because it just runs out and goes through the plant. This is watering for new plants. Thank you so much for watching. Bye for now.